Sure, this one takes the job. Calls doctor next morning. Stay here with DC. I can get that shit out of town.
There. Now everybody got one, I think. Or it might be Javid's. No, he got it. He's got the doubles. I think we're good. I think everyone has one. We got an extra. I'll wait for those guys to show up.
Fred, do you think we'll finish before 12:30?
I'm going to get going right now.
Okay.
Yes, I think we can.
Okay.
There's going to be a couple of presentations, so I think we get started right now, just so
Okay.
we can get going. I agree. We're going to begin the meeting, please. Welcome to the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board Committee on Academic and Workforce Success. Thank you for joining us for this committee, and please be advised that this meeting is being broadcast over the internet. Before we get started on the agenda, I want to take this opportunity to thank Arcelia Acosta for her service on the board and on this particular committee. As we heard earlier this morning, she announced a few weeks ago that she wants to devote more time to her family and business. We will certainly miss her and wish her very well. At this time, I want to turn it over to Chairman Stedman for a brief announcement. Mr. Chairman?
What was I going to announce? Let's see. Well, yeah, I did that earlier. So I actually appointed myself to all committees in a huge power grab, remember? So every one of the committees, I'm now a voting.
Oh, I didn't
member.
realize it was every committee.
Every one, yeah. So I'm
So
now
is that
the
just for this meeting or for all future meetings?
until I advise otherwise.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and welcome.
Maybe until we get some new appointees. I'm not sure. We'll play
Well,
it by
welcome,
ear.
Mr. Chairman, to
Thank
our
you.
committee. We're going to dive right into Agenda Item 2, which is consideration of approval of the minutes from the December 12th, 2018 committee meeting. Is there any discussion? Do I have a motion to accept the minutes?
Second.
Motion by Mr. Welcome Wilson and seconded by Mr. Raven. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, the motion passes. Thank you. Agenda Item 3 is consideration of approval of the consent calendar. Items listed on consent are items 5F, 5G, 5H, 1 through 5, and I, 5 through 12. Are there any agenda items that anyone wants to move or remove from the consent calendar? Hearing none. Is there no further discussion? Do I have a motion for acceptance?
So move.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Williams, second by Mr. Raven. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. Thank you. Agenda Item 4 is public testimony on agenda items relating to the Committee on Academic and Workforce Success. We do not have anyone registered to testify, so we'll go on to the next item, which involves the matters of consideration of adopting the staff recommendation, Agenda Item 5A, of a committee relating to the request from the University of Houston for a Doctor of Philosophy degree with a major in communication, sciences, and disorders. Dr. Stacy Silverman, Deputy Assistant Commissioner for Academic Quality, will provide an update and be available to answer questions. But I'd also like to recognize that we have some folks here from the University of Houston. If they'd like to come forward, they may, or they can stand up, whichever they prefer. Please join us if you'd like, or just stand up. You can come forward. Dr. Sarah Larson is Vice Provost and Dean of the Graduate School, Office of the Provost at the University of Houston. Welcome. Dr. Margaret Blake is Professor and Department Chair of Communication Sciences and Disorders. Dr. Bunta, Associate Professor and PhD Program Coordinator, Communication Studies and Disorders. And did Mr. Chang make it or not? Okay, he's here. Okay, thank you. He's in the back of the room. Daniel Chang is a Program Director for Academic Programs, Office of the Provost. Welcome all, and we're going to have a presentation by Dr. Silverman first, and then we will have any comments or questions you're welcome to have, and any questions from the board. Dr. Silverman.
Good morning, and thank you, Chairman, and committee members as well. University of Houston is proposing a Doctor of Philosophy degree program with a major in communications disorders to prepare students for academic careers in speech pathology and communication sciences and disorders. There is a rising demand for speech pathology professionals, and the entry to the profession is a master's degree. The proposed PhD program would build on the institution's successful bachelor's and master's programs and expand current research labs. The program would enroll up to 5 students in its first year and 3 additional students annually thereafter. The institution agrees to hire 1 additional faculty in year 1 and a second in year 2 of the program. Texas has 2 PhD programs in communications disorders and 1 similar program in rehabilitation sciences. The proposed program is estimated to cost just over $2 million, and anticipated funding would cover the costs. And there are institutional representatives here to address any specific questions.
Okay, any questions or discussion? Okay, I've studied the program. I did communications myself in undergrad, so double major, and so I appreciate it. And I did speak with Provost Short about it, and she answered some questions for me. I don't have any questions. I think it's a great program, and obviously there's a need in our state. So would any of you would like to say a few words? You're welcome to.
We just want to thank everybody who has assisted with this process. We are very excited to be able to offer this degree in Houston. I think it's sorely needed, both within the state of Texas and nationally, to add to the quality of education for our students in speech pathology and communication disorders.
Okay, it's a great program. It's one of the leading programs and big needs coming up in the future in our state. So I think it's very important. There are not, like we said, a lot of universities, as Dr. Silverman said, that offer that. So thank you for bringing that forward. Any comments or questions? Mr. Raven?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Raven. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Wilson. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. Congratulations, and thank you for being here.
Thank you.
We move on to Agenda Item 5A2 is consideration of adopting the staff recommendation of the committee relating to the request for the University of Texas Southwestern Medical Center for a Doctor of Philosophy degree with a major in applied clinical research. Dr. Silverman will give some presentation. We do have someone here, Dr. Scott Smith, Program Director. Welcome to come forward, please, if you'd like. Southwestern School of Health Professions, as well as Dr. John Williamson, the Dean of Southwestern School of Health Professions. Welcome. Thank you for being here, and then I'll turn it over to Dr. Silverman, and then we'll have a chance for you to say a few words and any questions from any of the committee members. Thank you. Dr. Silverman.
The University of Texas Southwestern Medical Center is proposing a PhD with a major in applied clinical research to prepare students for careers as leaders in clinical research. The National Institutes of Health defines clinical research to include 3 areas: patient-oriented research, such as clinical trials and therapeutic interventions, epidemiologic and behavioral studies, similar to disease distribution and patient decision-making, and outcome research and health services research to find the most effective and efficient interventions, treatment, and services. The institution anticipates the program will be attractive to students currently pursuing a master's degree, including those in clinical nutrition, physical therapy, physician assistant studies, prosthetics and orthotics, and rehab counseling. Texas currently has 2 programs. However, enrollment in those programs is limited to medical students or physicians who are employees of the institution. The proposed cost of the program is relatively high at $4.9 million. However, most of that is due to reallocated costs. And there are institutional representatives here to address specific questions.
Thank you, Dr. Silverman. Dr. Williamson or Dr. Smith, would you like to say a few words?
First of all, we'd just like to thank you, Mr. Chairman and the committee, for having us here today to represent the UT Southwestern School of Health Professions. We're very excited about this program. It's basically designed very similar to an MD PhD program, but for all these allied health professions. And each of these professions really have a need to push their fields forward through clinical research, to provide a basis for practice. Not only that, but the increased demand in the state of Texas for trained professionals in these professions is growing up to 25% projected by 2026, and therefore there are going to be needed faculty to train these, and that requires research for those faculty. And then finally, a lot of the accreditation bodies for some of these programs are requiring that over up to 50% of the faculty have PhD trained research degrees. So we really feel that the program fits a lot of these needs. It's unique for the state of Texas and novel, and provides the opportunity for allied health professionals to progress with a PhD research training.
Dr. Williamson? Okay, great. Well, as a health professional myself and working with allied health professionals, I thank you for that. I know Southwestern, I'm very familiar with Southwestern and your center. Continued great success, and thank you for being here. Any comments or questions from the committee? Michelle?
Hi. As Ms. Silverman said, the other similar programs in the state are only available to medical students or those with a medical degree. So what is the rationale for your program specifically to not require that?
That's exactly why our program's set up that way. Those other programs are only available to students that are pursuing medical degrees. There's not really a lot of outlets for students that are receiving master's or clinical degrees in the professions that we discussed to pursue research through their field. So that is the rationale behind providing that. That's what the program provides.
I think that's excellent. I know because I've researched and I know a lot of people in higher education. There are some private schools, health science centers, very well-known ones, that don't do that. So you're kind of leading the way. So I congratulate you. I think other institutions, not in Texas, but outside of Texas, that should also be doing that because, there's a lot of great folks that want to do research and do want to teach, and they may not be medical students. And so this opens up the field to people who are very talented and can help, obviously, the future of higher education in our state. So I do compliment you for leading the way in that.
Thank you.
Do I have a motion to accept?
I'll make it.
Okay, motion by Chairman Stedman.
Second.
Second by Ms. Williams. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. Congratulations. Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much.
We will move on to Agenda Item 5A3, consideration of adopting the staff recommendation to the committee relating to the request from Texas A&M University for a Bachelor of Science degree with a major in architectural engineering. Dr. Silverman.
Sure.
So this agenda item is from Texas A&M University, and they are proposing a Bachelor of Science in Architectural Engineering on its main campus beginning in fall 2019. This particular program would offer specialty tracks in mechanical systems for buildings and structural systems. A third track will be added down the road in electrical systems. The institution currently offers 18 bachelor's degrees in engineering. The institution agrees to hire 1 core faculty in the first year and 2 core faculty in the second year. An estimated 25 students would be admitted to the program annually. The institution agrees that it would seek ABET accreditation at the first opportunity, and the 5-year estimated costs are at $3.3 million, and funding is estimated to more than cover the costs at $6.5 million. And we do have institutional representatives here to address any specific questions.
Thank you. I'll introduce them. And first, I thought, when I saw the proposal a while back, I thought, Texas A&M, I thought you had every engineering program already, but architectural is before us today. Dr. Timothy Jacobs, welcome, Professor, Department of Mechanical Engineering, and Director of the Interdisciplinary Engineering for Undergraduate and Graduate Studies. Dr. David Claridge is Professor, Department of Mechanical Engineering, and Director of Energy Systems Laboratory. Welcome. Samantha Shields, Instructional Consultant, Center for Teaching Excellence, and Dr. Murad Atif is the Director of Architectural Engineering Program and Professor of the Practice of College of Engineering. Welcome, and please say a few words about the program.
I guess we're on now. I'm truly excited today to have the opportunity to discuss an architectural engineering program at A&M, and I'd certainly like to thank the committee for having us here, and certainly the coordinating board staff for the assistance that we've been provided along the way here. Maybe I'd like to just illustrate the need for this program in that I teach students in mechanical engineering to basically design and operate comfortable buildings and to do so very efficiently. And yet, while we have very effective graduate programs, our undergraduates can only take 2 courses at most related to buildings, and so it typically takes them several years of on-the-job experience to truly become effective design professionals in the building construction industry. And so I was excited when Dr. Banks asked me to chair a faculty committee several years ago to look into an architectural engineering program at A&M. And probably the most important thing that we did along the way, among the many things we did, we conducted a survey of 150 construction industry executives in Texas and on the need for a program like this at A&M. And 92% of these executives said they would like to hire students from an architectural engineering program at A&M. Then we went further and we gave them the opportunity to say, well, would you like to be kept informed on the progress of this program or be asked to help, 70% of these busy people gave us that information and said, yes, please keep us up to date, ask us to help. And I am delighted to say that many of them have stepped up to the plate in the time since then. Some have been serving on the Industry Advisory Committee that we've set up to help with plan the program. Others have attended workshops that we've held to look at curricular items and other planning for the program. Some of them have been providing summer internships for some of the students that have started doing an architectural engineering track in interdisciplinary engineering. And we've had others that have stepped up and already started to donate scholarship funds to support students in the program down the road. And then, of course, others have submitted letters of support that are actually in the package that you have before you. So after the 32 years that I've spent at A&M, I'm really excited to be here with this proposal for you today.
Great, thank you. Dr. Jacobs or Ms. Shields or Dr. Atif? Anyone have comments? Okay, do we have any questions or comments from the committee? Hearing none, do I have a motion for adoption?
So moved.
Moved by Ms. Williams, second by Mr. Raven. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. Congratulations, and thank you all for being here.
Thank you.
Welcome, Commissioner. Commissioner Paredes just walked in from the Capitol. Okay, we're moving on now to agenda item 5A5. Is consideration of adopting the staff recommendation to the committee relating to the request of the University of Texas at Tyler for the Bachelor of Science degree with a major in chemical engineering.
Four.
What about 5A4?
Let's see, 5A4. Oh, sorry, Texas A&M Kingsville. We can't forget about them. I wish we could do that, but thank you for reminding me. Consideration of adopting the staff recommendation to the committee relating to the request from Texas A&M University Kingsville for a Bachelor of Science degree with a major in industrial engineering. I'm very familiar South Texan myself from Kingsville, so welcome, folks. And I will introduce our guests from Kingsville. Dr. Larry Peels, Chair of the Mechanical Industrial Engineering Department. Welcome. Dr. Kay Jin, Industrial Engineering Program Coordinator. Dr. Afils Noor, Associate Dean of Undergraduate Students of the College of Engineering. And also Dr. George Allen Rasmussen, Provost and Vice President of Research and Graduate Studies. And in the audience, we have, I believe, Dr. Lee, correct? Graduate Coordinator for Industrial Engineering as well from Texas A&M Kingsville. Welcome, everyone here, and I'll have Dr. Silverman present the proposal first.
Texas A&M University Kingsville proposes to offer a Bachelor of Science in Industrial Engineering beginning in fall 2019. Graduates would be prepared to enter professional engineering practice in a variety of areas, including hospitals, manufacturing, research, marketing, finance, and information systems industries. Students would learn how to apply scientific and mathematical principles to the design, improvement, and installation of integrated systems of people, material, information, and energy. The institution currently offers 8 bachelor's degree programs in engineering, and the institution agrees to hire 1 core faculty in the first year and 1 core faculty in the second year of the program's operation. An estimated 20 students would be admitted to the program annually, and they would seek ABET accreditation at the first opportunity. 5-year costs are estimated at $1.2 million, and funding is estimated to more than cover the costs at $2.4 million. And we do have institutional representatives here to address any specific questions.
Thank you, Dr. Silverman. Dr. Peel? Or any one of the doctors on the panel? That's why, Dr. Rasmussen, please.
Yeah, we'd like to thank you, Commissioner, and the committee for the consideration of this.
At A&M Kingsville, we're very excited about this opportunity, particularly for our region and working with our ports and the energy industry in our area. So it's something that we're excited to bring back to A&M Kingsville and for our students and the popularity of that particular program. And then I'd have Dr. Peel give a little bit of the background.
Thank you. I also appreciate all the work that you've done in reviewing this and preparing for our visit. I should point out first that we already have a master's degree in industrial engineering, and so we already have experienced faculty, and our faculty that teach industrial engineering courses, many of them have also taught a few mechanical engineering courses, and they're also familiar with the ABET process, and they're also familiar with the local needs of students and the local industry needs is indicated by the letters of support. And so we feel like we're very well prepared to provide this program with relatively minimal extra cost.
Thank you. Dr. Jen or Dr. Noor?
To answer any questions you have.
Okay.
Looking at what the demand is for this program in the next 5 years, we think that 40% of that is in the South Texas region, and so we are quite excited to provide this opportunity for our students if it is approved.
So do you see a need, so you're the dean of the undergraduates, correct?
I'm the associate dean for the College of Engineering, overseeing all the programs.
Undergraduate and graduate?
I oversee all the undergraduate programs.
Okay, so do you talking to students and seeing students, you do see a big need yourself from right now with undergrads?
I think there is a need as projected by the people who are going to hire them, and this includes Kingsville Naval Air Station, but lots of private companies and other companies who are willing to hire our students. When we meet with them during the career fair, this is something that they have indicated as an interest, and so we are quite excited to provide this opportunity for our students.
Okay, Dr. Peel?
Yes, if I could add in there, as far as the demand from students, we did conduct surveys, and from approximately 6% of our current engineering students, that was mostly freshmen that we surveyed, they did indicate an interest in this. From recruiting visits, career fairs, and others, we get quite a bit of interest from prospective students. And then from the employment side, we also conducted surveys of local industry. And I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but I think it was around 90% indicated that they had a current need or a future need. And also, since we already offer the master's degree in industrial engineering, many of those same companies would like to hire industrial engineers as a bachelor's degree.
Very good. Commissioner Paredes, you had a question?
Yes. Some years ago, I don't recall exactly how many, probably 10 years ago, when Corpus Christi was interested in expanding its offerings in engineering, there was some concern about cooperation between the two campuses, and one of the agreements that we came to in the discussion was that the two campuses would cooperate to the extent possible to, for example, have faculty with joint appointments to do programs jointly. Is there a level of cooperation between the two campuses that might result in some efficiencies and some savings in fields that you both have in common, like engineering?
If Dr. Rasmussen can add more, but I've been involved with this for a long time. I would say, well, actually some of our faculty here, Dr. Lee and I think Dr. Jin, actually have joint proposals for research funding with faculty from Texas A&M Corpus Christi, and we are willing to cooperate with them. I think perhaps there is some concerns on the higher level about things, but we are perfectly willing to cooperate with them in any way, and we've had some meetings. We also notified them a number of years ago when we first proposed this, and we did get their approval that they would not oppose this request. But I would say there probably can be more joint efforts, but as far as their mechanical engineering program, they have decided to focus more in the marine area, and we haven't really focused in that area, but we're trying to cooperate as well as we can. And as far as down at my level, department level or faculty level, there's no resistance to cooperation.
Yeah, sir, there's actually been, most of our cooperation has really been at the research level, so we've had quite a bit. We have looked at the different niches, and instead of trying to duplicate programs, that's why Corpus has gone more into the marine. We've stayed more on that base area on the land. We're doing the similar, actually not just in the engineering, but across several other programs, particularly the natural resources, where they focus on more in the water, where we're focusing on the terrestrial side. But we do have quite a few joint projects that have gone in there, as well as doing some of our research compliance issues where we're trying to take advantage of those synergies.
Well, I would guess that given all we hear about what's going to happen to the port there and the expansion and the billions of dollars that will be invested there, there will be obviously a much larger demand for engineers of various types, and that would seem to me to create some extraordinary opportunities for cooperation between the two institutions. We'd like to have more cooperation between institutions that are in the same system and only 40 miles apart.
We would like to have the same, and I think we're all working towards that direction. We've even had a joint meeting just recently with the engineering program and actually Judge Canales. Again, though, she actually brought to us saying, here's where you guys have the expertise. We want to make sure we use that and not duplicate something that's over in Corpus. And then we can work together so that our programs actually will feed each other.
Well, we would really encourage more of that activity.
And
we like group hugs.
Yes, Dr. Rasmussen, and following up with the commissioner, I also have a concern. I'm for the proposal. I've studied it in depth, but I will say the same thing with the new higher education center in McAllen and with Texas A&M Corpus Christi. A&M and the system seems to doing a lot more engineering, which is good because of the need, but I concur with the commissioner. As we continue to do that, I know several students that go to the center in McAllen, and I'm sure you have students that transfer to College Station. So I guess my question is, what are you doing? Are you having an issue with that at all? Students from Corpus Christi Engineering Department or the one in McAllen Higher Ed Center and at A&M Kingsville, are you having issues with that?
Issues with them transferring?
Transferring, yeah.
Actually, we haven't seen, once our students come into Kingsville, they tend to stay. We don't have a lot transfer out. And then when we work with our junior colleges in particular, when we come in, again, we get about a 72% graduation rate on that 4-year of those students who transfer in from our 2-year programs. But right now, I think because of the differentiation of our programs, we're not seeing the transfer out. And I'm not sure, Dr. Peel can tell me if they got many transferring in from Corpus but I don't think I see a lot of that.
Just a few. We have a few come in, and actually had a master's student that did his BS in Texas A&M Corpus Christi.
Okay. And going back to collaboration and working together as far as the curriculums, because, as far as formula funding is concerned and all, there's a lot of concentration now in engineering with those programs in those schools. So it's really important, as the commissioner says again, to really look at all those entities to make sure that we don't have too many programs, but have the sufficient programs with the quality that we need. So we'd appreciate you keeping that, obviously, whenever you have proposals. Again, like I said, I'm in favor of this proposal, but I think as we continue to have more programs and more sites, we need to be very conscientious about that. So.
Yes, sir.
We'd appreciate that. Yes, Dr. Peel?
If I could just point out, and yes, we don't want to duplicate the programs that they have, but if you'll, I believe it's on figure 2, I can't remember the exact figure in our proposal, but right now there is no industrial engineering program in South Texas area, quite a large region.
No, that's right. That's why, but I'm just saying, as you plan in the future and you look at those things, I think we need to really communicate that, not only in South Texas, but the entire state.
Yes.
With the whole Texas A&M system and all the systems for that matter, but specifically with engineering, because you're very strong in engineering, which is really good, but we need to, I like the industrial, especially because of the needs in the area.
Yes.
Any other comments or questions from the committee? Hearing none, do I have a motion for acceptance of the proposal?
So move.
Moved by Mr. Wilson, seconded by Ms.
Second.
Williams. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. Congratulations, and thank you all for being here. Now we're ready for agenda item 5A5, consideration of adopting the staff recommendation of the committee relating to the request of the University of Texas at Tyler for a Bachelor of Science degree with a major in chemical engineering. And we will invite the University of Tyler representatives, Dr. Amir Mirmiran, Provost and Vice President of Academic Affairs, Dr. Javier Kypros, okay, thank you, Dean of the College of Engineering, and Dr. Michael McGinnis is the Associate Dean of the College of Engineering. Welcome, gentlemen, and Dr. Silverman.
The University of Texas at Tyler is proposing to offer a Bachelor of Science in Chemical Engineering beginning in fall 2019. The program would prepare students to apply the principles of chemistry, biology, physics, and math to solve problems that involve the production or use of chemicals, fuel, drugs, food, and other products. The institution agrees to hire a department chair and tenure-track faculty prior to the program start, and 2 additional faculty by year 4. Additionally, UT Tyler is creating 2 chemical engineering laboratories to support the proposed programs. An estimated 23 students would be admitted to the program annually, and the institution would seek ABET accreditation at the first opportunity. 5-year costs for the program are estimated at $4.6 million, and funding is estimated to cover the costs at $4.6 million. There are institutional representatives here to address the specific questions. I will say, to your point most recently about the duplication of programs, there is not a chemical engineering program in that particular region, so this would fill that need.
Thank you. Yes, Dr. Mirman.
Yes, good morning, and thank you, the committee and the staff, for making this opportunity available to us to present this program. I'm here to show the commitment and the support of our president and our university of this program and the success of the program as it aligns well with our strategic plan and our vision of being the primary educational economic driver of East Texas. And this program has been presented to us and requested by the industry leaders, and they have supported that. And our dean and associate dean would talk about the demand in the area, as well as the success track record that we have had with placing our other graduates of our engineering programs, as well as the unique features of the program in terms of what industries it would support.
Good morning, committee. Summary of kind of needs and why we've decided to pursue a proposal for a Department of Chemical Engineering. If we look at Bureau of Labor Statistics, 3 of the top 10 metro areas for jobs in chemical engineering are in the state of Texas. 2 of the top 5 non-metro areas are in the state of Texas. Outlook for chemical engineering jobs in the state of Texas, according to Texas Workforce Commission, is on the order of a growth of 18% and even higher in related areas such as in petroleum and natural gas. If we look at regional demand, there is, as been mentioned, not a chemical engineering program east of Lubbock, west of Ruston, Louisiana, north of College Station, or south of Norman, Oklahoma. We surveyed over 67 regional companies in East Texas, of which stated that they were, in the next year, we're going to be opening up the order of 150 jobs in chemical engineering or related areas. and on the order of 500 over the next 5 years. We've provided letters of support, 20 letters in total. And in our research, apart from the letters of support, we do also have a 7-figure commitment for a major gift that would be close to the order of the budget of our, that we've proposed. So apart from the institutional funding, there's also this major gift that we've gotten approval through the University of Texas system. In addition to the 67 companies that we surveyed, we identified over 1,500 companies in East Texas and also the regions that border East Texas, such as the Dallas, Fort Worth, Plano, Irving area, Beaumont area, western Louisiana, southern Arkansas, and Oklahoma. Those companies are in areas of energy, food and drink, wood and paper, chemical manufacturing, pharmaceuticals and biotechnology, general engineering services, fabrics and textiles. So there's a major need that's very diverse in East Texas and the neighboring regions.
Good morning. That brings us to how we've structured the program. We've structured it to be successful in that marketplace that we've identified, and to meet those needs and leverage the strength of our existing programs in the sciences, such as chemistry, and our other engineering programs, such as mechanical and civil engineering. So we've identified 4 tracks within that program to focus on those key areas that Dr. Kiperos noted, those tracks being energy, biochemical and biotechnology, environmental, and materials and manufacturing. So our graduates will not be one note, one stripe, but be prepared for a variety of industries to support our region. And it sort of brings us to a summary, why UT Tyler? Dr. Murmuran mentioned, we're a regional anchor institution, and our region needs, wants, and deserves this program. And it's right there in our vision statement. As you mentioned, we want to be the primary economic and educational driver in East Texas, and we're prepared to do so. We already have 2 faculty who are SACS qualified to teach in this program with advanced degrees in the area. And as mentioned, we're actively searching for a founding chair and first junior faculty member. I actually have a committee meeting tomorrow where we're addressing the candidates for those 2 positions. And we plan to add 2 more in the next 4 years. And we know we can do this. Our current graduates already excel at starting their careers. According to data from the coordinating board, our civil graduates rank 3rd in the state in gainful employment. Our electrical graduates rank 1st, and our mechanicals rank 1st in gainful employment. So weighted overall, our College of Engineering, in terms of engineering, we're the #1 public institution in terms of that statistic in Texas. And we've done this before. Not too long ago, I'm one of the founding members of the civil engineering program at UT Tyler, and it's not that old. And we're turning out successful graduates of that program who earn more than any other UT system school at graduation, except for UT Austin, and lead in that mark at the 5-year mark. So I'll close with a quote from one of our survey respondents. Because this person sums this up really well for us. The industries that utilize chemical engineers in East Texas are poised to grow, which will increase the recruiting pressure in this area. In my experience, recruiting technical professionals in East Texas, the more job factors such as salary, location, job duties, et cetera, that align with a candidate's requirements, the greater probability of hiring and retaining that candidate. Having a program producing qualified chemical engineering graduates in our community develops a pool of candidates with ties to East Texas because they're a local student who stayed close to home and are networking as they live here during the course of their studies. These East Texas ties are invaluable not only for greater access to this candidate pool, but because it makes job offers from East Texas companies that much more attractive. If the goal of UT Tyler is to be an economic driver in this area, then adding a chemical engineering program would surely add to the competitive advantage of the East Texas companies hiring in that sector. So, thanks for your time today.
Thank you all for being here, and I like the way you described your boundaries. I like geography. So the way you, Dr. Javier, the way you did that, because there's definitely a need, obviously, in East Texas, and it covers a lot of ground, obviously. So thank you very much. Any questions or discussions from the committee? Hearing none, do I have a motion to accept the proposal?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Raven, second.
Second.
Second by Chairman Stedman. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. Congratulations, and thank you all for being here as well. Thank you. We are moving on to the next agenda item, which is 5A6, is consideration of adopting the recommendation, staff's recommendation to the committee relating to the request from the University of Texas Health Science Center at Houston. Pay attention, everyone, this is interesting. For a Bachelor of Science in Nursing, that's the BSN degree, to a Doctor of Nursing Practice, which is the DNP degree in Nurse Practitioner. So if you're not in health sciences, you might pay attention, right? But Dr. Silverman will clear it up. And welcome Dr. Kathy Rosmus, who is representing a Vice Dean of Academic Affairs for the University of Texas Health Science Center at Houston. Welcome.
All right, so nursing, Doctor of Nursing Practice. Currently, institutions are limited to a post-professional Doctor of Nursing Practice. That means they have to have a master's degree in order to get into the doctoral program. This request from UT Health Science Center Houston is specifically to remove that master's degree requirement and allow a pathway for nurses to enter with a bachelor's degree to pursue their Doctor of Nursing Practice in a specific area. Actually, this will have 3 tracks. One is nurse practitioner. Then within that, it's adult gerontology primary nurse practitioner and also psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner. The institution has offered the BSN to DNP pathway for nurse anesthesia since 2013. And then they have also offered the DNP since 2006. We do have an institutional representative who is a nurse who could better address this than I could.
Dr. Rosmus, welcome. You want to press your button, we can hear you.
Thank you. And thank you for Mr. Chair and committee members for considering our program. And I'd like to also thank you, the staff, for all the help that you've given us in the preparation. Our baccalaureate prepared nurses are much more sophisticated than they were when I graduate. They know that when they come out, they want to work a year or two, and then they want to be a doctorally prepared nurse practitioner. Currently, they have to enter the master's program, graduate, work, then reapply, come back for the doctoral program. So it takes a long period of time with a lot of stop-outs. We found with our nurse anesthesia program that our students were much happier if they could come in as a baccalaureate prepared nurse, do their clinical specialty courses and their DNP courses at the same time, so that they have a much more streamlined process to becoming a doctorally prepared nurse. So thank you for considering our proposal.
Thank you, Dr. Rosmus. Any questions for the doctor?
Is this an industry-wide trend that is recommended by the industry in general by eliminating the master's requirement? And any concern about your applicants not being as well prepared as they might have been otherwise?
There was a recommendation made by our national organization in about 2007, 2008, that all nurse practitioners would be prepared at the doctoral level. So, and it was to occur by 2015. It didn't happen quite that quickly. With nurse anesthesia, they cannot be accredited unless it's a BSN to DNP program. So in answer to your question, yes, it is an industry-wide goal to go to the BSN to DNP program.
I mean, I know there's a huge shortage of nurses in Texas, and so it's we need to do everything we can to create more nurses here. And I know the nurse practitioner profession does a lot of the heavy lifting in the industry. I don't know if we ought to encourage all nursing programs in Texas to consider this modification, or do we do it piecemeal, one off at a time?
Well, I think institutions, we leave it up to the institutions to determine whether they have the capacity to offer those programs and whether there's a need in the region. I know Stacy has something to say about this.
So we do have a policy in place that lays out for the nursing programs, what would the expectation be if you wanted to go from a BSN to a DNP? One is that you already have that master's degree program in place for 5 years, and that it's been successfully graduating its students, and that they're employed. So we do have that in place, and those are the things that we look at. We did determine that UT Health Science Center Houston did meet those criteria, and that is why it's coming before you all.
There's clearly a degree creep is probably a negative way of expressing it, but the credentials in allied health areas are being elevated, are they not? And I think the next proposal is an example of that as well.
There has been that trend over time in all the health professions. What the BSN to DNP does is it combines what used to be two separate masters of specialties. There was the nurse practitioner and the clinical nurse specialist. The nurse practitioner focused on individual patient care, the clinical nurse specialist on systems and populations. The DNP provides the specialist and populations education. The master's education currently provides the practitioner education. This combines both of those roles so that you have a nurse who not only can provide patient care at the individual level as a nurse practitioner, but also look at populations of patients with specific disease orders. And to answer another question, we're not going to close our master's program, so it will continue as well.
Okay. Any other questions? Discussion? Do I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Raven for approval of the proposal. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Williams. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, the motion passes. Congratulations, and thank you for being here, Dr. Rosmus. Okay, we're moving on to agenda item 5A7. And that is consideration of adopting the staff recommendation to the committee relating to the request from Texas Tech University Health Science Center for a Doctor of Occupational Therapy degree with a major in occupational therapy. And we have representatives from Texas Tech Health Science Center. Welcome. We have Dr. Stephen Sawyer, who is the Associate Dean Faculty Development and Distinguished Professor. And we have Dr. Sandra Wishner, who is the Director of Master of Occupational Therapy Program and Assistant Professor. Welcome. Dr. Silverman.
Texas Tech University Health Sciences Center is proposing a Doctor of Occupational Therapy program to begin in summer of 2020. The program would offer 2 tracks, an entry level to prepare students to enter the field, which would require a bachelor's degree, and the second is a post-professional for licensed occupational therapists. The post-professional track would be offered fully online. The institution has successfully offered the Master of Occupational Therapy since 2012 and would phase out that program if approved and once the entry-level track received approval from the Accreditation Council for Occupational Therapy Education. The institution anticipates 53 students would enroll in the entry-level track, while an additional 20 students would enroll in the post-professional track. The institution estimates that 5-year costs would be $7.8 million and that funding would cover the costs at $9.1 million. The institution has agreed to hire 2 additional faculty members, one by December 2019 and the second by September 2021. There is only one other entry-level OTD program in Texas, and we have 3 post-professional OTD programs. We do have institutional representatives here to answer any specific questions.
Thank you, Dr. Silverman. Dr. Sawyer and Dr. Wishner, welcome. Dr. Sawyer?
Thank you, and good morning. And we appreciate the opportunity to discuss this proposal. We're real excited about it. It's a twofold excitement because we have the entry-level program in which we will propose to transition from a master's level to a entry-level clinical doctorate, which corresponds to the increased accreditation standards for the profession and also for the increased clinical practice standards that are emerging. And secondly, the post-professional online program that will provide an opportunity for currently practicing occupational therapists with a bachelor's or a master's degree to earn a clinical degree through online mechanisms and still be able to retain their clinical practice.
Dr. Wishner, would you like to say something?
Yeah, one of the things that we've kind of noticed with the master's curriculum is that over the time, the standards have become more rigorous for our profession to meet kind of the changing healthcare needs. And in the rural Texas area, many times we'll have graduates who will be an occupational therapist who's practicing in the community, and maybe one of the only one or just a few of them. And so this need to be able to be well prepared as a clinician, but also able to assess outcomes and to meet those demands that our healthcare industry is requiring students to be more knowledgeable in the selection, as well as kind of the assessment of outcomes across the patients that they're seeing. What we're seeing is that's taking more time to get our students to that level. And so we really see that reflected in the standards, and we think that it's going to be beneficial to our community to prepare our students at that doctoral level.
Very good. Thank you. Any questions or discussion from the committee? Hearing none, do I have a motion to accept the proposal? Motion made by Chairman Stedman. Do I have a second? Second. Second by Mr. Raven. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. Thank you and congratulations, and thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Dr. Silverman, I want to thank you. What I didn't mention at the beginning is Dr. Peebles usually does this report. You did an excellent job, because Dr. Peebles is at the legislature testifying today.
I can vouch for that.
Yeah, so the commissioner was there and slipped out early or finished, but Dr. Peebles normally does that, but you did a great pinch-hitting job. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay, so we're moving on to agenda item 5B is consideration of adopting the Commissioner's recommendation to the committee relating to a request from Medicend College of Biomedical Engineering Technology for a second certificate of authority to grant degrees in Texas. Dr. Silverman?
Yes, this item is a request from Medicend College of Biomedical Engineering, located in North Dallas, for approval of its second certificate of authority to award an Associate of Applied Science degree in Biomedical Engineering Technology. This second certification of authority would be valid from April 2019 to April 2021. As you all may recall, certificates of authority are issued for 2-year increments and can be issued up to 4 times. Institutions have 8 years to obtain accreditation from an agency recognized by the coordinating board. An on-site evaluation was conducted, and the Certification Advisory Committee reviewed the evaluations team report and recommends approval of the request.
Thank you. Any discussion? Any further discussion?
So the accreditation process it just takes a long time?
It can. So certainly this will be their second request for certificate of authority, which will mean that they've got 4 years under their belt in order to get that accreditation. They could have up to an additional 4 more years in order to seek accreditation from a nationally recognized accreditor.
But in other words, the time that it's taken for this group is not unusual?
No.
Okay.
Okay. Any other comments or discussion? Okay. Do I have a motion to adopt the Commissioner's recommendation? Motion by Mr. Raven. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Williams. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. Thank you. Next, agenda item 5C is consideration of adopting the staff recommendation to the committee relating to the report on the fiscal year 2019 annual review of low-producing programs. Members, you have supplemental materials for this item. That is the gold paper there in your packets. Dr. Silverman.
Okay. So we have a correction on this, but I'll explain that in just a sec.
Okay.
THCCB staff annually review all degree programs to identify those programs that are low producing. As this slide reflects, a program is identified as low producing if over a 5-year period the program graduates fewer than 25 graduates for undergraduate programs, 15 graduates for master's programs, and 10 graduates for doctoral programs. The board may recommend to an institution's governing board or to an institution, if it does not have a governing board, closure or consolidation of a program if it has been identified on 3 or more consecutive reviews. If a governing board and/or institution wishes to keep a program open, then the governing board or institution reports that on its next LAR, Legislative Appropriations Request. To allow systems and institutions enough time to consider what will be reported on their LAR, the staff make recommendations, and this recommendation is to the committee, not to the board, and that's where we have a typo up there. Related to the program closure or consolidation in odd-numbered years, and institutions then report their information on even-numbered years in their LAR. This allows systems and institutions enough time to decide and report accordingly. New degree programs are exempt from the low-producing review for the first 5 years of operation. Master's degree programs that lead directly to a doctoral degree are exempt. The number of graduates of applied associate degree programs and corresponding certificate programs are combined for low-producing purposes, and second major graduates are counted separately. If an institution or system is required to identify a degree program on its LAR, the system or institution should also develop a plan to allow that degree program to achieve the minimum standard of the degree awarded, or if the standard is not attainable, provide a rationale describing the merits of continuing the program. Today, the staff recommendation to the committee is for closure or consolidation of 101 degree programs listed in the table included in your supplemental materials. 37 of these programs are new to the recommendation, while 64 were recommended for closure or consolidation by the system or institutions, and 54 of those were reported on the system LAR for 2021. Staff requests approval of the item. You also have a table in your supplemental materials that shows the item by institution, the degree program by institution.
So tell me the timeline again, these odd years, even years,
Sure.
Whatever. In other words, like you identify a low-producing program, and then it sounds like, is that 6 years before it kind of surfaces? That's the math?
That is correct.
And so on this list, they've been identified for 6 years?
Technically 7 years. So
Okay, 7 years.
3 reviews, 5-year periods. So it's a rolling review.
And then when they get into the LAR, does anybody pay attention?
So this is the first time institutions have had to do this,
Oh.
and they did put them in their LARs. I don't know to what end that had an effect, but there are good reasons for institutions to want to retain certain programs that might be on the low-producing list. Programs that may be offered only by one institution that don't really attract a number of undergraduate students. Classics is an example of that. So, which is great that we have one in the state, but it doesn't attract a whole lot of students.
I guess sort of my question is after this LAR proposal, the information gets in the LAR, what would you anticipate happening to the 137? Is that what you said?
It's 101.
101, okay.
Right.
100 of the 37 additional. Right.
Right,
So 101 programs, how many will be closed, and will they just continue to appear on this list every
Hopefully not. And every year we see about 40, we saw about 40 come off this list because institutions said, hey, we're going to close that, or we're going to phase it out, or we're going to consolidate it with another program. So institutions really use this list to monitor themselves and to make sure that they know which of their programs are low producing. So it really should be a helpful tool for the institutions, not really a punitive one. So they just need to know which programs actually are graduating students. And it does beg the question, after a program has 0 graduates for 5 consecutive years or over 3 review periods, is that really a program?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's true. All right, thank you.
So,
Stacy, do we send the information to members of the boards as well?
the members of, yes, absolutely, yes. Yes, we do. The information is shared. It's also available on our website.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, do I have a motion for adoption of the recommendation, staff recommendation? Moved by Mr. Wilson, second by Mr. Raven. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. Thank you. Agenda item 5D is consideration of the staff recommendation to the committee relating to the guidelines for the 2019 Texas Higher Education Star Awards. That means Mary. Dr. Mary Smith, Assistant Deputy Commissioner for Academic Planning and Policy, will provide a presentation and be available to answer questions. Dr. Smith, welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Farias, members of the committee, and Commissioner Paredes. I just wanted to provide to you a little background information about the Star Award program. It was initially established by the coordinating board back in 2001. It was aimed at providing public appreciation and positive recognition by the coordinating board for exceptional contributions to what was then our current higher education strategic plan, Closing the Gaps by 2015. And the program was revised by the board in 2016 to publicly recognize exceptional contributions toward achieving one or more of the goals of our current higher education plan, 60 by 30 techs. Finalists are recommended by a coordinating board internal staff review panel, and then winners are selected by an external review panel that consists of board members of the coordinating board, out-of-state higher education experts, and Texas community leaders. The winners receive a custom-designed award and public recognition for their efforts at our annual Texas Higher Education Leadership Conference that we generally hold in the fall. In terms of Star Award history, the first 15 years of the program, we received 920 applications. 20% of these applications were recommended as finalists, and 8% of these applicants received awards. Over the last 3 years of the program, we received 102 applications. 19% of these applicants were recommended as finalists, and then 6% of these applicants received awards. As you can see from this 2018 example, our winners are very proud of their Star Awards. They describe them as prestigious and coveted on their websites, and many institutions keep the fact that a certain program, project, or activity has been honored with a Star Award, and they keep it on their websites for many years. Summaries of our finalists and awardees, along with their contact information, are available online on our own website. Overall recommendations, given the success of the Star Awards, the staff recommends continuing the program, but staff does recommend some revised guidelines to encourage the submission of high-quality applications that showcase more of the contributions being made across Texas to achieve the goals and targets of 60 by 30 techs. So, for 2019, and incorporating suggestions that were made by the 9 members of our external review panel, which included in 2018 Chairman Stedman, Vice Chairman Farias, and Ms. Acosta, our staff recommends the following revisions to the categories and criteria of the Star Awards. And there's going to be 3 more recommendations that are actually consolidated under little tables like this one. So the first is combining the categories of groups and organizations in Texas and partnerships into one category. The second is to reduce the number of potential finalists annually from an unlimited number to up to 8 to include at least one finalist from each of the 3 categories that are listed there. Our 4-year institutions, our 2-year institutions, and then the partnership category with the groups and organizations, if you approve this recommendation. And now that our 60 by 30 text plan has been our higher education plan since 2016, we want to re-include the provision that the candidate must have been in operation for at least 2 years. These recommendations have to do with the announcement and call for the nominations. So besides those that are already listed in the application process and guidelines, we'd like to send the announcement and call to our 20 education service centers in Texas, because again, they can be partners with higher education institutions and groups and organizations in Texas. We also would like to send the specific invitations from the commissioner to the president of each of our higher education institutions to encourage each president nomination of at least one program or a project or activity on their own campuses. And we'd also like to include an invitation from the commissioner to the lead members of each of our 10 advisory committees for the 60 by 30 text regional targets, because we like to encourage each of the advisory committees' nominations to the STAR Award. With respect to the winners, we'd like to reduce the number of potential winners annually from what is now a maximum of 7 to a maximum of 3. And then while we do recommend that our internal staff review panel would need to include at least one finalist from each of those 3 categories that we're recommending, we want to also specify that the external review committee, who will be choosing the winners, doesn't actually have to pick a winner from each of those 3 categories. And then finally, the staff recommends the following additions to the application process and guidelines themselves. Besides being included on the application form, we'd like to include in the guidelines the provision that before an application is considered by the coordinating board, it does need to be authorized by the institution's chief executive officer through his or her signature. Besides sending the tip sheet, what makes a good STAR Award application to the nominees along with the appropriate application form, we'd like to actually include the tip sheet as Appendix A in the guidelines. And the third is specifically including the review form itself, the review form that is used by the internal staff review committee as well as the external committee. We'd like to include that as Appendix B in the guidelines. And that's again to show individuals what we're actually looking for in an application. Because what happens a lot of times is that people will submit an application and it has lots of anecdotes in it, but it doesn't necessarily provide data where an individual who is not as well aware of the program as they are, they will actually know that they have to actually benchmark and show that there's really an actual relationship between their program and the outcomes. And then finally, including in the guidelines that the coordinating board will feature in our annual Texas Public Higher Education Almanac, the STAR Award winner or winners, and as warranted, depending on the type of program, in our 60 by 30 progress report. I want to specifically thank Dr. Farias and Mr. Stedman and Ms. Acosta for their participation on our STAR Awards external review panel for 2018. And then finally, this is the recommended timeline. It's very similar to the timeline that we used back in 2018. It shows you exactly the dates, and I won't bore you with going into each one of those details. The really detailed version of the timeline is in your proposed guidelines on page 5. And with that, I'm happy to address any questions that you might have.
Okay, at first I'd like to say, Dr. Smith, thank you for you and your staff for doing all the work. I know Chairman Stedman and I were on it, like you mentioned, the committee, and Ms. Acosta, and there's a lot of things to review, but there's a lot of great candidates, and I think if we get the number up and the quality up, I think these are great recommendations, in my opinion, having served on the committee. And for those that haven't gone, I really encourage you to attend and be part of it. The inspiration of what these institutions are doing of higher education in our state are very impressive, and it's very competitive, and it's just a great environment. It's when the commissioner gives the state of higher education, And it's just you just get to meet with these trustees and these regents, and it's a great opportunity, but it's a great opportunity for these institutions to shine. So, Mary, I know this is a year-round project. I know Dr. Smith works very hard on it. And Stuart, do you have other comments on that? Because I know you were very involved, and you gave a great talk, by the way, I thought.
Yeah, well,
you were actually mentioned in the Statesman, remember, the next day.
Yeah, somehow I got roped into doing the keynote address, and he couldn't make it. Anyway, no, one change, we talked about all this stuff, but clearly more data and less anecdotes, because on the committee there were some, say, emotional, tear-jerking stories that developed sympathy from some committee members, but the impact and the data didn't really, show the statewide impact. So that's a good change. Thank you.
Okay, so no, it's thank you for all the hard work, and any of the board members, because I know we're all in different regions of the state, encourage folks to get involved with this, with the universities and the community colleges, because it's a great program for them to shine and the great things that are happening around the state in higher education. Any other discussions or questions? Do I hear a motion to adopt the staff recommendations? Moved by Chairman Stedman, second?
Second.
Second by both Ms. Williams and Mr. Wilson. Okay, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. Thank you, Mary, for your hard work and the staff. Okay, next agenda item that we have is 5E, consideration of adopting the staff recommendation to the committee relating to the approval of funding to develop online higher education professional development modules. Dr. Kristen Kramer, a Deputy Assistant Commissioner for College Readiness and Success, will provide a presentation and be available to answer questions. Dr. Kramer, welcome.
Well, thank you. Good afternoon, Chair Farias, Vice Chair Williams, Committee, and Commissioner. We have just the one item today from the College Readiness and Success Division. We are proposing, asking for approval from you all to fund up to $200,000 to the University of Texas at Austin on course. We are proposing to develop modules to support the education of students and parents, as well as training of post-secondary staff. Our first module that we propose is to develop a marketable skills-based module for higher education. So this would be based on the toolkit developed by Rex's office. So this will be nice. We can cross-divisional work in that way, as well as to push it out. The second would be an adaptation of existing modules on financial literacy and financial aid, including state aid. And last, we will be working with advisors to push out this information to staff and students. We are excited because this will build on existing infrastructure at the University of Texas in OnCourse. OnCourse is an academy that reaches out to counselors for training, as well as provides online modules for parents and students. To date, we have very high use by the public and counselors. We see over 900 school districts using the resources at 72%. As well, that includes 17,000 students and 10,000 educators. So it'll be nice to be able to build on that existing infrastructure and outreach. Do you have any questions?
Any questions for Dr. Kramer? Yes, Mr. Wilson.
Is the $200,000 100% of the costs, or are we just providing some of the costs for this to occur?
Well, there's existing infrastructure, of course, that we will not have to build, but it will assist in either adapting or developing new modules. And in that piece, yes, we would be funding the majority of that.
But the $200,000 covers the cost of it?
Yes.
Adapting the modules?
Yes.
And this Texas OnCourse is in use, utilized by a lot of school districts, and this is just updating modules along the way? Is that?
Well, and adapting the modules to satisfy a higher ed audience, so getting out the information to also students who are already in college or university, as well as advisors.
And do we own the product at the end?
I'm sorry, I missed.
Do we own the product?
Yes, the module itself, yes, and essentially this would be producing yet another, so on the landing page for OnCourse, there would be both the K-12 piece as well, as well as a, we'll say a button to land into the higher education directed audience.
If I could add, one important aspect of this, in the context of earlier discussions in the meeting, is they have an audience of 10,000 professionals at the schools, and this helps us be involved in the message regarding these various topics that's going out to the professionals in the field. So it makes sure that OnCourse and the coordinating board are in line in terms of that messaging. And I think that's a critical aspect of this.
And I should say that OnCourse came out of a legislative directive on the 84th, I believe it was the 84th legislature, that directed UT to create an academy and online training system in collaboration with coordinating board, TEA, and Workforce Commission. So this has been an ongoing collaboration, but we've added, or we're seeking to add on a post-secondary focused audience, a post-secondary audience, and build out, so not strictly into the K-12 audience. So we're excited. If you want to take a look at the existing website, you might find it interesting. It's just, if you just type in Texas OnCourse, it should pop up.
Okay. Any further discussion or questions for the committee? Hearing none, do I have a motion to adopt the staff recommendation?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Raven. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Williams. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. Thank you, Dr. Kramer.
Thank you.
We are moving on to agenda item 5F, 5G, 5H, 1 through 5. They were on the consent calendar. So we'll move on to agenda item 5I1, which is consideration of adopting the Commissioner's recommendation to this committee relating to the proposed amendments to Chapter 4, Subchapter A, Section 4.8 of the Board Rules concerning expert witnesses. Dr. Silverman.
This item actually amends rules to align with current state statute by repealing the rules applying to expert witnesses. The similar statute was removed from the Education Code in 2011, and this also renumbers the rules. No comments were received during the 30-day comment period, and staff requests approval of the item.
Any discussion? Hearing none, do I have a motion to adopt the Commissioner's recommendation?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Wilson. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Chairman Stedman. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. Thank you. Agenda item 5I2 is consideration of adopting the Commissioner's recommendation to the committee relating to proposed amendments to Chapter 4, Subchapter B, Sections 4.32 and 4.33 of the Board Rules concerning students enrolled at more than one institution and the review schedules for field of studies curricula. Dr. Silverman.
Yes, these revisions clean up existing language that could be confusing to institutions and students. It repeals Section 4.32D, which is not needed, as field of study is the same for all institutions as it applies statewide. Also, it repeals 4.32F, a reporting requirement that was in conflict with 4.33. So Section 4.33A is revised to clarify when reporting is due. And finally, it adds a new section. Section 4.33C is added that establishes a schedule for updating existing fields of study every 5 years. And staff requests approval.
Okay. I just want to add a little comment in here. that all the board members, for those watching on the internet and the audience, all the board members get this information well in advance to review. So it's not like we're going through it fast. And I would compliment the staff because I have hourly conference calls as the chair of this committee with Dr. Gardner and Dr. Peebles and Dr. Silverman in many cases, reviewing the details of all this. So just to let you all know, okay? So do I have a motion or any discussion on this particular topic? Do I have a motion to accept the commissioner's recommendation, adopt it?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Raven. Do I have a second? Second by Chairman Stedman. Thank you. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. Thank you. Agenda item.
Mr. Chairman, would you go into more detail about those rules that you learned from those hour-long conversations? I mean, I think everybody would love to hear.
I know, but I know that some members are having to catch flights, but I'd be happy to discuss that.
Okay, never mind.
Discuss that with you in detail any time after the meeting, well, Chairman. With the help of Dr. Silverman, Dr. Peebles, and Dr. Gardner, of course. Agenda item 5.3 is consideration of adopting the Commissioner's recommendation to the committee relating to the proposed amendments to Chapter 4, Subchapter D, Sections 4.84 and 4.85 of the Board Rules concerning institutional agreements and dual credit requirements. Members, you have supplemental materials for this item. We have received one comment. Comment and staff responses are included in the supplemental materials. Dr. Silberman.
Thank you. These proposed changes align the rule requirements for the content and structure of dual credit institutional agreements with amendments to the Education Code. Section 4.84B clarifies language by revising the rule to read that any dual credit agreement should address the set elements. It also adds a new section 4.84C that sets forth the institutional agreement between a public institution of higher education and a public school district. An articulation agreement or memorandum of understanding must include the following: specific program goals, establish or provide a procedure to establish the course credit that may be earned under the agreement, including developing a course equivalency crosswalk or other method of equating high school courses with college courses, and identifying the number of credits that may be earned for each course completed through the agreement. 3, describe academic supports and guidance provided to students. Also establish the institution of higher education and the school district's respective roles and responsibilities, and ensure that the quality of instructional rigor is there. Also post information on both the institution of higher ed's website and the school district's website. The amendments also specify the required dual credit enrollment eligibility scores on the English 2 and Algebra 1 State of Texas Assessment of Academic Readiness End of Course or STAR exams as 4,000. Language was also added that specifies that a dual credit class, when combined with a college credit, a dual credit class which combines college credit and high school credit only students, may be allowed when the creation of a high school credit only class is not financially viable for the high school. Additional supplemental materials have been provided to you as comments were received after the comment period ended and the CAWS materials were printed. Cypress Ridge High School's principal and assistant principals submitted separate and similar comments. Each raised a concern that the proposed rules would no longer allow dual credit and advanced placement students in the same class. However, this is not the case. The proposed rule change adds a condition that the high school may only combine the college credit and high school credit only students when the creation of a high school credit-only class is not financially viable for the high school. When this condition is met, the proposed rule continues to allow high school or to combine AP or International Baccalaureate students with college credit students. And no changes were made as a result of the two comments. And staff requests approval.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Silverman. Any questions or discussion on the topic? Hearing none, do I have a motion to accept the Commissioner's recommendation?
Moved.
Moved by Mr. Wilson. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Raven. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. Thank you. Agenda item 5I4 is consideration of adopting the Commissioner's recommendation to the committee relating to the proposed amendments to Chapter 4, Subchapter G, Sections 4.151 through 4.153, 4.155 through 4.158, and 4.160 of the Board Rules concerning early college high schools, and repeal of Sections 4.154, 4.519, and 4.161 of Board Rules concerning early college high schools. That's a lot of 4.162s and all. Okay, but we've got to get those right for the record, right, Dr. Silverman?
Sorry. The proposed amendments align the rules with the addition of the Texas Education Code, Chapter 29, Subchapter N, Pathways in Technology Early College High School, or PTEC program, from the passage of Senate Bill 22 by the 85th Texas Legislature, and standardized language throughout Chapter 4 associated standardized language throughout Chapter 4, Subchapter G. The term Pathways in Technology Early College High School and associated statutory citation and definition were added to the relevant section of the rules. The word acronym CU was replaced with the word college throughout the text of Chapter 4, Subchapter G. The title of the Southern Association of Colleges and Schools, Commission on Colleges, was correctly cited in the rule text. Also, sections of the rules were repealed that are not supported by statute or current practice pertaining to the early college high schools by the Coordinating Board or TEA. And staff recommends approval.
Is there any discussion or further questions for Dr. Silverman on the topic? If not, do I have a motion to adopt the Commissioner's recommendation on this?
So moved.
Motion made by Ms. Williams. Do I have a second? Second by Chairman Stedman. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. Thank you. Agenda item 5I, 5 through 12, were on the consent calendar. Agenda item 6 is adjournment. Do I have a motion for adjournment from the committee meeting? A motion by Mr. Raven, a second?
Second.
Okay, whoa, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Williams. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, we are adjourned. Thank you all.
Good job. We got those forward.